Hello everybody, this is Charles. I'm bringing to you a video today on our two foundation pieces. And I pulled this out of playbook number 5. They're in all of the playbooks, and they're going to pull up on the screen. What I'm going to be referencing here is the first 2 pages of our foundation pieces. And who you want to show this to is a client that is looking for long-term tax diversification. Perhaps they're looking for a 529 alternative for their kids or their grandchildren, and then maybe a married couple that's making 200 grand or more, they can no longer contribute to a Roth, or a single individual that's making over 125,000. So this is a great Roth alternative story. So we're going to do a screen share as I go through again these first 2 pages. And the idea of this short video is for you to be armed with the sound bites when you're talking to these clients who are looking for these financial objectives, of how to set the tone, set the stage for why would we consider having what we'll refer to as 7702 section of the tax code, or you'll hear us call it life insurance retirement plans. Those are interchangeable, and that's really the Roth alternative that we're going to talk about today. So on this, we'll pull up on the screen this first graph that we're going to show is the history of the federal income taxes. And it starts in 1913 and quickly has a major jump. That major jump was World War I. The second major jump is the first Great Depression and the Spanish flu. Then we stayed in a tax environment that was extremely high for some time. And you'll see on the screen that little shark fin in the late 60s, early 70s. That's when, as a country, we started to develop things like 401ks, pension plans. What we were trying to do was hopefully defer our income into a lower tax bracket in the future. And for our parents and our grandparents, that couldn't have gone any better than it did. But with the deficit to the right, and you'll notice we have purposely left this unchecked, 19 trillion, that debt, the US debt, is now over 26 trillion with a T. So we put on here 3 small R's. When Ronald Reagan was born, when Ronald Reagan was a famous movie actor, he made it publicly known he was only going to do 2 movies per year. And then he was going on vacation, because every dollar he made after that, he only got to keep 6 cents. And then the last R is Reagan in the house. And not a political campaign, just we knew people would know who Reagan was and how much taxes shifted and changed during his lifetime. So we move down to the 3 buckets, and I like to simply state, when your client retires, when they wake up the next morning and their feet touch the floor, they have 3 banks, 3 buckets they get to access money from. The first one everybody knows about because their parents taught them about it, their schools, their educational places of work. Those are 401ks, traditional IRAs, and pension plans. When your client goes to that and they want to pull out $100, they're only going to receive $65 because of the applicable taxes. So then we move to the middle bucket. Again, widely known and understood. It's got real estate, stocks, small businesses, mutual funds. When we go to that bucket and we decide that we want to take out, we have to pay the applicable taxes on it as well. And so what we want to do is, when they go to that middle orange bucket and say, I want $100,000, and they only get to receive, say, $80 or $85 because of cap gains, we want to be able to have diversification so that they have some place they can go borrow from or take money from, a distribution, and allow them to not have to pay tax again when they owe the taxes due on the other 2. And that's how we end up getting tax diversification. So pretend they take out of the first 2 buckets 100 grand, owe the IRS $20,000 at the end of the year to be generous. We would say take money out of the last bucket, or when you ask for $100, you actually get $100, so that you can pay the tax and not have to dip into the other 2, incurring more taxation. So that's what we encourage when we're trying to educate. This is all about tax diversification long term. And then the next page, we'll go over some of the valuable assets that are inside of this Roth alternative idea. Inside of this is tax deferred growth, like the Roth. It's tax-free income, like the Roth. There's the ability to have upside in the market with no downside risk. And my partner JT, if he were here, he would want us to also mention making sure that there's no IRS limits and there's no 59.5 rule. And then lastly, if you don't put in 1 year because it's not a good year, you can make up the next, which is unique. You can't do that with a SEP, or you can't do that with a defined benefit plan. So we'll go down here to the lost decade. I said something very important. You have upside potential with no downside risk. And that's normally where clients will look at you and they'll think, what kind of investment are you putting me into that I get the upside of the market, but I have no downside exposure? And it's called an index, or you'll hear it called a derivative. And with this example, we went to 2000 to 2010, and we simply showed if you have a floor of 0 to protect during the losses and an upside of 12, you in the orange, you would get to see that in the really good years, you hit those caps, and in the bads, you hit the floors. But in that decade, there was an 87% difference of investing in an index, a derivative that has guardrails, versus just being in the open market, the S&P 500. So in this sample, the person in the purple, the S&P 500, they actually lost money during that decade, where if you had money in the orange graph, the orange line graph, you would have made about, on average, 5.5% during that decade. So just a very easy way to visually show the floor of 0 and then the cap of 12, that index feature. And the foundation pieces go about another 5 pages. For this, we just wanted to share it so it's very simplistic as to why you would even want to entertain going to the next step of learning more about this section of the code 7702. So contact us if you have questions. Let us know how we can help. We'd love to educate you on this. And we have 20, 30 years of experience, our team, of not only figuring out how to model this, how to implement it, and then how to manage it on an annual basis. So hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.